Well, in the new Venom, we introduced two very new characters. One that you have seen already in the coda, and that is not included in the two. We introduced two new characters on top of the gentleman in the coda that we're very excited about revealing and playing with.
I was thrilled to be asked to direct the movie and to get the chance to work with the marvellous Tom Hardy.
The magnificent Woody.
And the magnificent Woody. And I'd really adored the first movie, and so to come on board at this point where the story had been established, a lot of the hard work had been done, and I get to reap the benefit of taking, joining this journey at the growth of Eddie and Venom's relationship throughout their difficult years, let's call it, which was thrilling. Plus, getting the opportunity to really help bring to life in the CG world, to bring to life as a reflection of Cletus Cassidy, played by Woody, the extraordinary supervillain Carnage. Those things were all hugely exciting to me, and why I wanted to get involved, and I've been thrilled to be to have had the opportunity to do that. Behind the scenes. It's always such a difficult one, isn't it? Really, because it's
so much going on. Really.
I mean, we had a very, very fast schedule. It was the energy of the shoot really is reflected in the pace of the movie, and also that we wanted it to be a kind of muscular, kind of thrill roller coaster ride. But so every day was a real challenge. There was so much to shoot in a relatively short period of time. I think one of the most exciting scenes to shoot was definitely Tom and Eddie and Venom fighting each other in the apartment. That was thrilling to watch, and there were so many kind of intricate things about how that was constructed, from wire work to stunts to visual effects to special effects, and I mean. That was to see, and the chickens as well. They also play a vital part.
Absolutely.
In that they were always good fun.
I was just going through all of it actually, and thinking of all the locations that went to, and the speed with which we went through them, and then double checking the ground to see what other options we could have whilst we were there, and trying to fit that into the schedule as well. I remember it was the whole experience of shooting. There was no moment at all for. It wasn't anecdotal in any way, shape or form. We were having fun, but the whole filming process, the schedule was very fast, and it was very ambitious, and there was so much we wanted to do and needed to do that it was like a constant whirlwind of, checking off things and lists and looking at new costumes or new shots of the symbiote, or trying, making scenes work, recording lines, rewriting scenes, looking at the playback, making sure it's working, actor schedules. It was just a constant whirlwind to map from pre-visuals to design concepts, to make sure everybody was on the same page, that we were delivering and bringing to life Kelly's script, to the best capability we possibly could, so that we could to bring it to life, to see it. But only now I've stopped.
Right.
and I've seen it and gone, oh wow, yeah, okay, we can, I have no anecdotes in any aspect of a moment aside, where, apart from there might have been a couple of pinch me moments where I was like, look what we're doing.
The carnival.
Oh yeah,
actually,
that was huge moment of
that was a big one,
pinch me moment for
the Day of the Damned kind of festival, and having 650 supporting artists.
Yeah,
in amazing costumes.
Little Sims on stage rapping, and all of those fluorescent lights and people in costumes. Joanne Eatwell did such an amazing job, and we were in the tobacco docks, weren't we?
Yeah.
And there was a pinch me moment, and because the music was playing, it feels like it's a carnival. There was time at the monitor where I wasn't working that night because on screen, because it's Venom, he's out and about. So I had my radio and my earpiece, and I could run around looking at things and be my other job. And I was like, hey, this is really cool. This is really cool. And it's like, but we're responsible. Who let us in the building?
It will happen one day, I'm sure, but perhaps maybe not immediately. Is how I feel. I think there's more. I think there's actually more great stories to unpack in the Venomverse before we get to this. That's personally my opinion. I mean, that's all I can say. But what do I know?
I think it's an interesting dilemma, because you said something very funny the other day. I don't know if it will translate in humour. Was that I can't see anybody wanting to see that. Can you? What would be, who would possibly go and watch a Venom and Spider-Man movie? It's there's such a pregnance in an aspect of anticipation of that's only could be a good thing, because there's always the potential at the very least. You know, that the what if. And so that's something we would be remiss not to aim towards and hope for. But as Andy says quite rightly, so there's a huge canon and optionality within the Venomverse and the Marvel world elements that Sony has in its capacity to develop and go lateral and create its own constellation. But that's still a fight. You know? Do you know what I mean? That is the one. I see that. So who knows? I think that the relationship between Eddie and Venom has progressed. Certainly developed from the first movie. Initially, Eddie's body was taken over by a parasite, or what he thought was initially a disease or an illness that was making him go crazy. That turned out to be a parasite as a relief that it wasn't him being crazy. But even better, it happens to be a real 7'9" alien that now lives in him, thank God.
What a relief!
What a relief! Yeah. So somehow that's where we left him. And that if they stayed together, at least he was alive. I think by the end of the movie, and everything was okay and could go back to normal. And he tried to get his girlfriend back. Where we find Eddie in this movie is having lived for some time now with this alien inside him, and the alien having lived for some time with Eddie, and they're rubbing each other up the wrong way. And what we have here is a case of two people who are fundamentally not providing, or I suppose not finding the right compromise between fulfilling each other's needs as fellows who live alongside each other, but worse to live within each other. And so I think they need to unpack their company ethic and work out what that is exactly. And they argue.
I'll answer that. No, I couldn't and didn't, because I didn't have to. What was so magical about what Tom's process, gave us was the magic of Tom creating that entire relationship single-handedly, and it was the most extraordinary thing to watch and mesmerising. As a fellow artist, I just would constantly, every day, feel I was in the presence of something great. Watching him craft this performance, and by bringing Venom to life, vocally recording and then bouncing off his own recordings, which were played in an earpiece, and then creating visually for us through his imagination, and therefore placing it for us. It was a constant. It was just a masterclass in acting, and very, very. I had very little to do with that. It was all down to Tom's. With the skill, what I had to do was to take that amazing performance and then just occasionally people the shot with where Venom was going to go, or make sure that we were getting the best out of those moments. But it was it was truly an exceptional, and that's what drew me to the project in the first place. Was that magic that Tom was bringing to those characters.
Wow! Thank you. That's very kind of you.
No. But that was something I felt I could contribute towards. Was that I had a very strong idea that Venom, the way that he's built and the way that we've perceived him beforehand is that there's a sort of straightforward frontness about his physicality, like we've described him as a sort of a gorilla mixed with a killer whale. American football player, sort of attack on things. It's very immediate and thrusting and like a battering ram, you know. And Carnage is the opposite in the sense that he
has nuance.
Yes, he's a little bit more subtle, and he has a sort of twisted, sort of off-kilter, idiosyncratic style. He can transform and shapeshift and become lots of different things and weaponize in lots of different ways. And it sort of would be taking Venom's energy and twisting it back on himself. And so we experimented in the early days with using performance capture to kind of try and see how physical human movement could then translate into, by adding CG tendrils and stuff, what that would do. For instance, making a whirlwind or a flick-flacking up a wall backwards, and all sorts of things to try and create a different energy and a very a proper villain that was difficult to harness or to get hold of.
Woody is arguably one of the greatest character actors, you know, of our generation. He's super funny. He's super smart. He's very quick. He has a deliciously wicked sense of humour. He plays like a child, but he's a grown man, and he's been on many an adventure already and seen a lot of great work. So he's unrivaled in many aspects. So he's not going to be thrown by anything. And he when you work with somebody like that, if you have the good fortune, you know you're going to get something that's being considered and is intelligent and is going to be fun and is going to maybe throw you off as well in a cool way. So it's always going to be exciting, and that's what's beautiful about a character actor like Woody, is that they're like an element, and when you put them in with other elements, you're going to get this wonderful alchemy. It's going to create some kind of crazy chemistry. You're going to create something that hasn't, you know, is the sum of the parts of whatever you've cooked it up with, you know. So you never know quite what you're going to get with Woody, but you always know what you're going to get with Woody. Do you know? But you just don't know how you're going to get it today. And I love that guy. And he's a good man as well.
He's a really good man.